This summer, Instacart presents famous summer flavors coming to your front door. Or pool. Or hotel.
Your grocery delivery has arrived, sir.
That was faster than room service.
No violins in the lobby.
Oh, seriously? Anyway, sit back, relax, and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Starring your favorite snacks, drinks, and more. Download Instacart for free delivery on your first 3 orders. Rated H for hungry audiences. Offer valid for a limited time. Minimum $10 per order. Excludes restaurants. Additional terms and fees apply.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, but also getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. You can find a link to our playlist in the show notes. Welcome to episode 58. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Liam Cooper. The Sydney singer-songwriter has just released his brand new single, entitled Another Lonely Night. In today's episode, we're talking with Liam about the new single, the importance of arts in schools, and his return to writing after a lengthy break. Here we go. Our guest today is an independent artist who is making their return to original music after almost a decade. He's following up his fantastic Out of the Blue single with a new track today entitled Another Lonely Night. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Liam Cooper. Good afternoon. How are we?
Simon, so good to be here, man. I'm well, thank you. I really appreciate having me on the show.
Of course. No, thank you very much. Where are you joining us from this afternoon?
I am joining you from Wollongong, so about an hour and a half south of Sydney. We've just entered lockdown, which we were just discussing briefly before hitting record. So been to the shops and got food for the week, and hopefully we can just hunker down and work from home.
That's very fair. Do you find that when you're at home, being able to kind of stay in that space, that you are more susceptible to being creative if you weren't at home, if you were outside and able to kind of move around?
Yeah, great question. I guess for me, I've been relatively independent and working from home for a little while. Pre-COVID, I was working as a cruise ship guest entertainer. So I was kind of flying around the world and joining cruise ships and doing my show and having a lot of downtime and a lot of time on my own. And then even into COVID, obviously with lockdowns happening and working from home, I've kind of got the hang of being productive and working on my own time, I guess, and my own schedule and setting all that. So it kind of at the moment, it's relatively normal. But I guess the thing that you've asked about is creativity. And I think that's the real difficult thing. Being in the same space every day and not really seeing too many people, and even just having things disrupted like live shows and my work and my wife's work. There were people during lockdown. I remember there was a real energy around, we've got all this time at home, so let's be creative and instantly kind of, write songs and switch on. And I think what was underestimated there is that it takes a lot of inspiration and a good headspace and everything else in your life to be going relatively okay or securely for you to actually be free to create and inspired to create. So I guess in one sense, it would be better if everything was normal to be more creative rather than everything kind of thrown out and trying to be creative in a time or a place where you're not normally creative or don't have the time to be creative. It can be a little bit difficult, I guess.
I think we've found like a bit of a weird, not even weird divide, but just a divide there. There have been some guests that found during lockdown that they, after like an initial little bump, found it wildly creative and banged out 2 albums. And then some who, gosh, who was it? There's been a handful that have kind of been like, I tried and like pushed, and it just felt that, and this might have been around like the first start of from March to June or so last year when everyone was still learning about it. But we had, a good portion of artists kind of be like, why would I want to create when there are so many more like vastly important things going on outside in the world at the moment?
Yeah, it's a super difficult balance. For me, I mean, it wasn't all that bad. The EP that's coming out in the next few months and the tracks that I'm releasing at the moment were all recorded, in September, October, November 2020, and then through into early this year. So, I was creative in one sense. It did give me the time to actually record and produce this EP. Whereas if I was doing regular work, which pre-COVID was working on cruise ships, I wouldn't have had that space or that creativity, I guess, or time to be kind of in and out of the studio. So it was nice to have that. And then the songs that I recorded, a few of them were written or half written pre-COVID. So I was at least able to meet up with a couple of songwriters and really work hard with my producer, Sean Kerry, and get everything together. So, at the same time of it not being, I kind of felt like I wasn't creative, but at the end of the day, I was.
That's very fair. I think it, allowed time to be creative without having to be creative, if that kind of makes sense. But
yeah, of course.
The EP that you're referring to, Lonely Nights, it is coming out, I believe, in August. Please correct me if I'm...
September, I think, at this stage. I mean, look, everything's flexible. It could be August. Who knows? I guess the way that I've planned it is, I've got these tracks as an EP. Of course, in today's music landscape, especially for an unknown artist, it's really about singles and quantity, I guess, in terms of pumping out regular music, rather than just dropping a body of work. So for me, I've taken this EP and split up the tracks into singles. So I released Out of the Blue, which was the first single from the EP about 6 weeks ago. Today, actually, Another Lonely Night is the second single, which has just dropped. In about 6 weeks, I'll do a third single. And then about 6 weeks after that, I'll then release the EP that will have those 3 singles plus 2 extra songs on it. And then people will be able to embrace that whole body of work as the 5 songs on that EP. But I'm just kind of winging it. Like, it's not like they've been submitted by my distributor to Spotify or anything. So you know what? It could be August, could be September. I could drag it out and make it go to 2022. Who knows?
It would be a shame if you did drag it out, because I think that people are kind of chomping at the bit to hear these songs. As we discussed just before recording, Out of the Blue is an insanely catchy single. And we'll make sure that there are show notes in the podcast for anyone who hasn't heard it yet, or so they can listen to your music. The single that's come out today, Another Lonely Night, is another great song. I'm curious, because this is the first original music that we've gotten from you in quite a period of time, I think in 10 to 12 years. What was it that, as you said, you're performing as an entertainer, what brought you back to your own songs, to songwriting?
What brought me back? I didn't know where you were going to go with that question. I didn't know whether it was going to be like, why did it take so long, or how did you get here? But I like that angle of what brought me back. I think I keep talking about cruising. I kind of like talking about it, but then I hate talking about it because I feel like I'm this cruise guest entertainer and that's my label and nothing else. So I don't want to end up like that. But anyway, while I was doing that, I had left a 9-to-5 jobs, which was obviously unsustainable, working on a cruise ship. So I had left that, and I wasn't doing like piano bar gigs anymore. So the 3-hour gigs at pubs, clubs, where I'd sit in the corner and play Billy Joel, Elton John, and Beatles, Queen, all the rest of it. So I wasn't doing that kind of 2 or 3 nights a week. I wasn't in a 9-to-5. I was in this cruise ship guest entertainer contract by contract role, where I would join a ship for 5-6 days. I'd perform my show right in the middle of that, and then leave and then go and join another ship. So there was a lot of downtime, I might be working as in doing my show like once a week or once a fortnight or something like that. But the rest of the time would be spent traveling or just waiting around, essentially. So I guess that is what brought me back to my own music, having the headspace to be creative and having no stress around a 9-to-5 or playing so frequently during the week cover songs that was almost a job that then sucked the enjoyment out of music, I guess, for me. So having that time and having that space really allowed me to start writing again. And literally, I just find myself having lyrics or melodies pop into my head when I would have been not doing anything for so long. And it's just like, well, there was space for that to happen rather than my head being filled with all the other things that go with a 9 to 5 and playing gigs on the side and doing all that kind of thing. So, I guess that's it really. There was space for me to be creative again.
Was the show that you were playing on these ships, was that your Kings of the Keys show?
Yeah, a show that I had written, I guess, out of playing the music of this show for so long in pubs and clubs. Like, that's what I had been doing since high school, really. So the last 10 years, been playing Billy Joel, Elton John, the Beatles, Queen, all these one-hit wonders for piano, like Walking in Memphis, The Way It Is, 1,000 Miles, Drops of Jupiter, all that great material. So I essentially took what I was doing in these background music cover gigs and formatted it into a 2-act, 2-hour theatre style show where I was playing all these songs, but with a 6-7 piece band, so rhythm section, horn section. And the real difference was that I was integrating dialogue around the songs, who wrote them, why they wrote them, what inspired them to be written, and almost giving audiences the opportunity to hear these songs that they have heard so many times before. Like, let's be honest, how many times have you heard, Let It Be or Bohemian Rhapsody or Piano Man or I'm Still Standing, all these like iconic 70s piano hits. But the meaning is kind of lost on a lot of people because it's just all about the melody and the lyrics and not them really hitting. So the moment that I was able to explain to people, well, Let It Be was a song that Paul McCartney wrote about a dream that he had where his mother came to him in this time of trouble while they were recording the White Album, I think it was. And his mother in this dream literally said to him, Paul, let it be, and gave him these words of wisdom in this time of trouble. And so that's what Paul went ahead and wrote this song about. And so there's that. And then there's the story of Walking in Memphis, about Mark Cohn's first time in Memphis, Tennessee, walking down the main street, having this crazy out-of-body experience. Piano Man, Billy Joel, literally playing a piano bar in LA after running away from New York because he had a falling out with his record label. And the people that he wrote about in that song were actually people there in the bar at that time. And so, explaining all those little stories and then playing the songs, it's almost as if people are able to hear that music for the very first time because they get that new perspective and that fresh experience. So that was what I wanted to do, to take these songs that I had been playing day in, day out, week in, week out, and elevate them, I guess, and give a cover show, because it was still essentially me on stage playing covers, take that to a whole new level and something that was going to be a lot more engaging than just playing those songs back to back for 2 hours.
Of course. Imagine, I have seen some footage of the shows and they are quite incredible. You are quite an impressive showman in terms of both playing, singing, of course. What I'm very curious about, because that is what you're doing, that is your livelihood for that number of years. And, I feel like regardless of whatever career people are in, your work is like just oh God, what's the word? You go to like autopilot if you're in hospitality, finance, music, whatever. That like there's this autopilot. I'm curious for you. So you're performing all these songs throughout the day or throughout the night, whenever time they are, and then you go to write your own songs. How do you kind of separate the two, if that makes sense? How do you like not go to write your own song and then you're like, oh fuck, that's the melody line to Piano Man? Or
I don't know. I think that it's just so that they're almost two vastly different parts of my creative mind. And it's funny that you mentioned that autopilot idea. It took a while for me doing cruise ships to get to that autopilot stage. But once I was there, it was a really beautiful thing, being able to walk out on stage and not really have to think about the dialogue or the lyric or the move or the audience interaction or whatever it is. and just go for it. And that was really quite magic. But then, I guess like switching minds into that creative space for songwriting, I don't know. It just works. It just happens. Maybe because I know the songs so well, I subconsciously avoid like accidentally playing bits from them. So there's got to be some sort of separation there somehow, but it certainly hasn't become an issue where I've been writing something and go, oops, I'm automatically playing Piano Man or something like that. Because in my mind, I kind of want to stay like as far away from that as possible. Like even though that's the music that I'm playing for work, I guess, there is a bit of enjoyment in there, of course, because I love the music. But, what I really want to be writing and what I'm inspired by musically is a very different sound. So I guess that probably comes into it as well. Like I'm not trying to write like a Billy Joel, Elton John similar sounding song. I've got my ear on all these other artists that really inspire me, and that's where I'm trying to end up. So I think that's probably also how I distinguish those two things, playing the covers and writing the originals.
That's very fair. I feel like it's almost taking your work home with you if you do try and have it as like a directly Elton John or Billy Joel influence kind of project. I'm very curious to know your initial start in music, because I know that you've been performing and like singing, playing piano from quite a young age. I think the Spice Girls might have had a little bit of an influence at a much younger age. But I'm curious when Liam kind of went, yep, cool, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to sing. I want to play music and play the piano.
You've had a good dig around my YouTube channel.
We try and be thorough. We try and be thorough with our research.
I love that. Well, look, I started playing piano when I was 5, and I'm now 29, going on 30 this year. So it's been a little while. I started singing when I was in high school. The rest of my music class, I was at a performing arts high school, so the bulk of that class were singers. So me as a pianist, seeing everyone else singing, it was kind of like, I want to have a go at that. And obviously it made a lot of sense to combine the instrument and vocal together. So it was a lot of learning and practice and rehearsal in those school years. I didn't just open my mouth in like year 9 and start singing. Like I didn't have a voice. I was really bad. It took a lot of work, and I still work on it. And so it wasn't like one of those instantly gifted kids that, some people I've worked with a lot of kids teaching music, but also as part of Southern Stars and School Spectacular and Talent Development Project, which are a few New South Wales based performing arts initiatives. And so I've been around a lot of very talented students at times, and some of them have no background, no training, nothing, and they just can sing, which is incredible. I was not one of those people. It took a long time for me to get there. So anyway, that was kind of all happening through high school. I was taking singing lessons and still taking piano lessons. And then, I released my first EP when I was, I think, maybe 17, 18. So, obviously like towards the back end of high school, I started to take the fact that I could play piano and I was now comfortable singing, and it just led into starting to write my own music. So that was really the beginning of it there. In terms of where did it start, was kind of like late high school, after I'd really like got the hang of playing and singing.
Did you find it, the high school that you went to, that was a performing arts high school, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
In terms of, I guess, for people who didn't.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back-to-school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back-to-school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
I'm curious, for a performing arts high school, what is the difference with a regular high school? And then, because I can address that you might not know, obviously, because you went to a performing arts high school, didn't go to the other. But yeah, what do you feel that you got from that school more so that, say, if you had have done like extracurricular arts at a non-performing arts high school?
Great question. This is like throwing me back to think about, what actually happened in high school, which was a little while ago now. I'm trying to remember it. I guess the main difference with the performing arts high school was the opportunities that were presented at a school level. So, we would have had a lot more focus on in terms of like a teaching staff and creative arts department. That would have been bigger with more support there. I don't know in terms of like financial support, either from a school level or like a state school funding level, what the difference is. I imagine there was some additional funding or something because we're performing arts high school. I feel like really inadequate talking about this because I as you kind of mentioned, like I don't really know the difference. But I guess like one thing to distinguish though is that there were a lot of performing arts activities and opportunities that were offered outside of school by kind of state level activities. So those two of those 3 programs I mentioned before, the Talent Development Project and School Spectacular, are open to all school students at state schools in New South Wales. So, regardless of whether you were at a performing arts high school or not, you were eligible to be part of those kind of activities. So that's kind of why I mentioned before about, at a school level, it would be different, but at a state level, being involved in other performing arts activities or programs, it's a little bit different because anyone has access to those. But, we had really great facilities at school in terms of, music rooms and being able to rehearse in separate spaces and performing arts facilities. I mean, they weren't top notch. We're talking about Wollongong High School of Performing Arts, not like a massive private school or even one of the Sydney performing arts high schools. So it's not like we had amazing facilities, but, as a student, it's great. Even just to have a piano in a room, like you're really, really blessed because you wouldn't have that kind of space probably at a non-performing arts high school, or there would only be one room with a piano in it. And so, we had a little bit more flexibility with that. And obviously with the performing arts high school, we're always doing musicals and end of year productions and showcases and other bits and pieces. So obviously there's a real focus on it, probably more so than a non-performing arts high school. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's kind of difficult for me to contrast one against the other.
Of course, you can see why I struggled with how to phrase the question to begin with. I want to circle back. I know we spoke earlier in the conversation about being an independent artist, and also me going through your YouTube to kind of see what I could find for this. There is some people listening to the podcast might know you as the young Aussie guy who proposed in the cinema as well. I think as of this morning when I checked it was around, I want to get this right, 11 million views.
11 mil, yep.
11 mil, not too bad. For yourself, not just YouTube, but being an independent artist and having one thing I was very impressed with, as a very quick side note, but it does lead into this question. One thing I was impressed with is that all your socials, the website, the way that you yourself have packaged yourself, essentially, it does come off quite professionally, and sometimes that does, take a team of people. There are certain artists that have like a team of people doing all of that. How do you find managing all of that on top of being the artist and having to juggle it all yourself?
Yeah, amazing. Thanks for all that. That was a really beautiful compliment in there. I guess what you've identified is my background in marketing and in digital marketing. Pre-cruise ship, I worked in a digital marketing agency for 5 years, where we would run social media campaigns for major label artists and independent artists. So I've been lucky enough to always combine my passion and love of music with something else I am genuinely interested in, which is digital marketing and social media. So, having done that for other artists for a number of years, it just kind of came as second nature to do it for myself. So, I've been able to kind of get a grip on social media and what works and how to do a rollout of a single or an EP or any kind of project, essentially. That's obviously coming through there, which is quite exciting. In terms of being an independent artist, something that kind of flagged in my mind when you were asking that question was, I guess, about juggling it all. The difficulty I find is having to go put all the multiple hats on, right? Having to go from one part of the project to another. And it kind of comes into, I think, back we were talking earlier about being creative and being in lockdown and all that kind of thing. This kind of wraps it all up, I guess. I need to say what I'm thinking because I'm just rattling at the moment. What I'm trying to say is that when you are an independent artist, you're wearing all these different hats, and I feel like you go through different stages of the release cycle, and it's difficult to be this part of the artist when you're at this stage. So, for example, once you've written the songs, then you move into the studio and you start recording them, and you go through that whole creative process of bringing them to life. And then towards the end of that process, you're mixing, then you go through mastering, and then you start thinking about how you're going to roll it out. So your mind kind of goes into a different creative mode around, well, what are we going to do for album art or a video or a visualizer? Or, when are you going to roll out these tracks? And then once you've got that plan in place, it's kind of like, well, cool, now we've got to go out and shoot that content or think about that idea and how we're going to execute it and bring it to life. And then we plan it. And then once you get to the rollout stage, there's a lot of excitement and anxiety around releasing a song. So, how are people going to respond to it and replying to comments and making sure that you're posting, every day if possible or multiple times a day. And then the PR hat goes on, and then you're trying to reach out to people like yourself who have a podcast to share my music with other people, or bloggers or other news outlets, or brand partnerships. I mean, at the moment, it's funny you mentioned Out of the Blue. A couple of people have said it'd be a really great song for a wedding video. Wedding videographers and photographers that are packaging, their services for a wedding day. They're always looking for royalty-free music that they can upload their videos on YouTube or Facebook without being flagged for using copyrighted material and all that kind of thing. So a couple of people have said, Out of the Blue would be a great song for that, because the song is about me kind of falling in love with my best friend and us getting married and the journey that goes along with that. So I've literally, the last week, have sent out probably 100 emails, and I plan to send a lot more to all these videographers around Australia, but also the world. I've been spamming a couple of videographers in the US too, to say, hey, I've got this song that would be perfect for your wedding videos that you make for your clients. And then essentially trying to set up small licensing deals, have them pay a one-off fee of $59 or whatever to license the track for that one client's wedding video. And so that hat goes on, because I'm always thinking about, well, I've spent so much cash recording this EP. In this day and age, how do we as artists get that back? Without this whole thing being a really expensive hobby. So, my mind has always, for this project, really been on sync, and how can I make the most out of this music in terms of getting it placed maybe in a TV ad campaign or in a small movie or a TV show, literally anything. So I feel like this strategy of reaching out to videographers for wedding videos is a small part of that. If I could get 100 videographers to license the track for $50 each, that'd go a long way towards paying off, studio fees and mastering costs and artwork and all that kind of thing that comes with putting out music. So, that's kind of a tangent off the whole multiple hats thing, where I feel like, when I'm in this stage of rolling out a single or rolling out an EP or whatever it is, like I'm thinking about what am I posting today, what am I posting tomorrow, what content am I going to use for announcement day, how am I going to reach out to blogs and do all that. And independent artists are thinking this stuff day in, day out. But I think that's where it becomes difficult to go, well, hey, I'm also going to write a song today.
Yeah.
I'm feeling really inspired. I've got a lot of headspace. I'm really relaxed. I can go and sit down at the piano for 2 hours and throw around some chords and some ideas. And, I guess there's no reason why I couldn't be doing that and being more disciplined and having practices like, starting the day every day by doing that, or putting aside an hour every day to do that. So, in one sense, I feel like I'm kind of making an excuse for not writing more regularly. But at the same time, there's definitely all those other things hanging over my head about, I'm in this stage of the project now. I almost feel like once all of these singles plus the EP have rolled out, then I'll go, cool. What's next? Like maybe I'll have some headspace there to go, well, let's write some more music and let's do it again. But I guess that would be the difference between having, a bigger team around you, maybe with some management or label support or publishing support or whatever. Myself as an artist might be able to go, well, cool, here's the music, let's do it. You guys roll it out. You guys sort everything in terms of that. And then that would leave me with the ability to be more creative and have time to do that and really focus on the product and making great music, rather than also the marketing and PR and monetization and all that side that goes with it.
Yeah, definitely. It's one thing, just to touch on one thing you mentioned, it is, as you said, a musician, especially independent musicians, are wearing so many different kind of hats. And, as you said, you're going through the rollout, PR, everything. And then it's almost, I've found that for a lot of people, even trying to then recoup that money, if you've spent not only your hard-earned time, but you've spent a lot of money of your own recording, mixing, mastering, artwork, putting it out there. And then when you do ask for something back, the reception is always very funny. Like, why would you want to be paid for all that time, effort, all these hats you've worn? It's a very frustrating thing to be an artist.
I even think about it. Yeah, I even think about it in terms of like pre-saving an artist's single on Spotify. That makes a huge difference for the artist in terms of showing Spotify that your fans are excited and keen for the release, so that when on release day, there's all these people immediately have added it to their library. And Spotify might go, cool, well, I'll start showing it to more people by putting it in Release Radar and Discover Weekly or, other algorithmic playlists, or it might flag editorial placement or whatever. And so, a lot of pre-saves can be really valuable for an artist. And it's something that doesn't cost anything for a fan follower to do, but still it's really hard to generate them, and so like that's almost all that I'm asking in return for this music, is for people to just pre-save it and listen to it. And sometimes it's really hard to generate even that amount of buzz, when there's not even any cash involved.
I feel like, streaming, while it has been a very good thing for music in terms of accessibility and getting, like, you can say, check out my single, and people listening to this podcast can go and stream it straight away, which is a fantastic availability for them. But it is also, as you said, like it's made musicians' lives a lot more difficult in terms of like, it's a free thing. It's not difficult to do, but people still need it. It's
a blessing and a curse in the truest sense of both words. I almost feel like the alternative to it these days it would be having an email database, because an email data, like, this is the marketer in me coming out, an email database is the only digital audience that you own. Like Facebook owns your Facebook fans, Instagram owns your Instagram followers, Spotify owns your fans on Spotify, Apple Music. So, you either have to pay to reach them or you're at the mercy of those platforms, right? The only thing that you kind of have control of today is like an email database. So, if you were to go away from social media and the digital streaming platforms and go kind of completely the opposite, I could end up just with an email database and selling them physical CDs that I post to them. Like that would almost be the only way around not using those platforms and being an independent artist in a way that you could actually kind of start to monetize the product again in terms of going either back to CDs or paying, $9, $10 or whatever for a digital download card or something like that. Or maybe a piece of artwork that comes with a download code on it. So there's some sort of tangible element, even though it's not a CD as such. But, that's kind of the only way to really think. Everything else for artists is at the mercy of these other platforms, which I said, blessing and a curse. We wouldn't have been able to connect. I wouldn't have all these fans in the US and the UK and Canada and Mexico and Brazil that are listening to the track. That would never happen. So it's really exciting. But then at the same time, it's, how do I make back the cash that it cost me to do this?
Exactly. It's I don't think I could word it any better. You literally said it before. It's a blessing and a curse in the best sense of the word. Liam, would you be happy to talk about the playlist that you sent through?
I'd love to.
I was very impressed with the playlist. It is It was a great pop playlist in terms of I don't feel like current pop, but like pop in the sense of great pop songwriting.
Yep. I'm obviously on my computer now and I need to pull up the list so that I can refresh my memory because I sent it to you a couple of days ago now. But it was really I was yeah, I can do this for you, easy. And then I started putting the songs in a list and there was something in me that kind of went, there's actually a difference between artists, favorite artists and favorite songs. There's a couple of artists that, all of their songs would be favorite songs, but I feel like I put one song on that list as a token of their whole back catalogue, if that makes sense. But then there are some songs that are favorite songs from an artist, but you would never listen to the rest of their catalogue.
Yeah.
Or don't quite gel with it or whatever. So it's favorite artist and favorite song. I thought that they would be quite easily interchangeable. But from experience, I can tell you that they're not.
We've had a few people come on and just kind of be like, it really made me question how I view this artist in my own listening library or whatever it may be. One artist I did want to speak about that we've already mentioned a few times that you included on there is Billy Joel. Obviously, I feel like you might know his back catalogue quite well. A big fan. You've picked The Ballad of Billy the Kid.
Yeah.
Why did this song out of it? The man has an incredible back catalogue.
I know.
Moving Out, Anthony's song.
Great question.
Man, everything else. What made this one stand out?
I actually have a playlist of Billy Joel songs that I don't know how to play. And that playlist is the list of my favorite Billy Joel songs, if I'm honest, because everything else that I do know how to play, I've played hundreds of times, and they're the ones that I actually don't want to listen to because they're so worn out, they're so burnt out, and because those songs now are associated with playing a show live and all the anxiety that comes with either putting on a show or joining a crew. There's now there are lots of memories also attached to those songs that I play in my show. So the song that I put on there, The Ballad of Billy the Kid, one of the reasons I put that on there is because it's kind of I don't know how to play it, so I appreciate it more. And it's just one of those songs. It's kind of one of his I think it's 6 minutes maybe. It's not as long as Scenes from an Italian Restaurant, but it still has that multiple section, multiple energy, multiple parts to the song that makes it this really engaging story musical theatre, larger than life production. I don't know, I just really enjoy listening to it. And there are a lot of other songs that would fit that criteria, but I was I can't not put a Billy Joel song on this playlist, but I don't really want to put on one that I play all the time. because I'm just so like done to death with it. But obviously Billy Joel is a huge influence. I can't deny that. But I love listening to, they're not necessarily B-sides. I guess for me they're B-sides because everything else is the stuff that I do normally. But I love those like non-major songs, or the ones that I don't know how to play.
What are they called? Like the deeper cuts, if you will.
Yes, yeah. I mean, look, they're not deeper cuts. Let's be honest, but yeah, to me, they're deeper cuts. Totally.
Yeah. Look, in terms of actual classification, might not be, but in your mind, yeah, deeper cuts.
Yeah, 100%. They're Liam Cooper's B-sides.
Another track I wanted to talk about was Thirsty Merc, When the Weather is Fine.
Oh, such a banger.
Great song. I think my favourite Thirsty Merc song. It's like gorgeous ballad, but without being too ballady. It's a ballad in the sense of a Thirsty Merc kind of song. And I know that Sean Carey from Thirsty Merc worked on the EP with you. I guess firstly, what is that song like? What was that experience like? But then secondly, what was it about this song out of all of their songs that made you pick it?
Okay, so first part of the question, what was working with Sean like? I guess it was a huge fangirl moment first when we met, because even in his studio at Church Street Studios in Sydney, he's got a couple of album plaques on the wall of Thirsty Merc's work, and so that's really exciting. And Thirsty Merc was really big when I was in high school, when they had 20 Good Reasons and the kind of earlier stuff. And so I was going to shows with like my dad to see Thirsty Merc, and it probably would have been Sean playing guitar on those stages. And so, that was really huge. But then I think working together, like Sean played guitar in Thirsty Merc a long time ago now, and I don't know when he left Thirsty Merc, but it was a little while ago now. So it wasn't something that, I don't know, frequently came into conversation, or we talked about lots, or, I brought up heaps, or had a fangirl moment every time we had a session. Like, it was kind of just, it was what it was.
Of course, it might be weird if it was.
Yeah, totally right. So I think the thing that that we both gelled on, and you can hear this, I think, throughout the EP, is that there's a lot of that, like, early 2000s pop rock inspiration, like your Thirsty Merc, your One Republic, Keen, Snow Patrol, all those kind of artists, like especially in Another Lonely Night, this latest single, is very inspired by all of that. So I think the greatest thing was that we both had this understanding and appreciation of an early 2000s radio friendly pop rock banger, I guess. And so it was really nice to have that alignment between us in terms of his background in Thirsty Merc doing just that, and my desire to create something that sounded similar to that, but with a modern, fresh twist, and for us to be able to pull that together. So that was great working with Sean on this track, and obviously all the songs on the EP. And then the second question about why this song, I think, again, like going through high school and fresh out of high school, like I was learning and playing a lot of these songs. So it was one that I probably didn't play as frequent as the others, and just probably have more of an appreciation of. Like, I love that it's a really simple ballad. The melodies and the chord structure in this song are just beautiful, and every time you hear it, even the production on it, the recording of it, that the piano in this song, that first chord, you just get this like flood of warmth. The warm and fuzzies come over you. Like, I don't know what piano that was that they played, where they recorded it, how they mic'd it up, but whatever it was, it just sounds so kind of natural and beautiful and like home almost. But yeah, I mean, so much respect for Ray and his songwriting and everything that he's done with that group. But yeah, just another track out of their whole back catalogue that I love listening to.
It is a very good song. It is a beautiful song, and very warm song. It's a very good use of words. the last one I wanted to chat about was Maggie Rogers' Light On, which
Maggie.
is just great song.
I love her. I love Maggie. I would love to meet her. I don't know what your question is. I'm just going to start talking about Maggie. Someone tagged me. So you know how she went viral in that video where she's showing Pharrell her track Alaska, I think while she might still be in college maybe. And so that went viral ages ago. And I kind of like, you know how you claim like I knew her back when? Like I saw that viral video. Like it wasn't Triple J, it wasn't anything else. It was like I've been a fan for ages. So anyway, love Maggie, love everything that she's done. My wife Amy and I went to see her live at Metro Theatre, I think it was. I can't remember whether we've seen her once or twice. Anyway, it's definitely been, I think it might just be once. But anyway, so she was amazing live, and that was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago or something that she was out here. But yeah, love Maggie. Again, it was kind of like that whole song versus album or song versus artist conversation we were having earlier. Like I could have put her whole album or her whole EP on this playlist. Every one of them is such a great tune. It's not one of the album that she put out. It's not one of those albums where you're like, I'll skip this song and I'll skip this song and I'll skip this song. It's like every song is like, yes, this one, yes, this one, yes, this one. So it was like Light On is kind of just a representation of Maggie's entire back catalogue.
That's very fair. I have to agree that that whole record. Every time I think, because to kind of reference another song that you put on the place, I don't have any questions, but you put Vultures, which is a great John Mayer track off Continuum. And that album is like 90% perfect to me. There's 1 or 2 tracks near the end that I'm like, I could skip. The first 70% is pretty good. In Repair, not so much. But that Maggie Rogers album, it is. You listen to it and every time I'm like, oh, I think there's one I want to skip. You get to like the first 30 seconds, like, oh, no. And then before you know it, you're at the end, you've heard, Falling Water, Say It, whatever else. And then it's a flawless record.
Totally. And just for the record, Vultures was exactly the same song versus artist issue where I'm so familiar with a lot of John Mayer's albums and even the like more recent stuff that's coming out now. Even that track that he released the other week that's so like Toto's Africa meets, I don't know, early 2000s John Mayer. It's just like, it's such a vibe.
I'm very much looking forward to that record, but I won't. We can have we'll stop the recording because we could have a conversation for a few hours on that.
Totally.
Liam, thank you very much for your time today, and congratulations again on the new single. And we do look forward to the EP coming out.
You're so welcome, Simon. Thank you so much for having me on this show. I really appreciate it.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Liam for his time. Both Another Lonely Night and Out of the Blue are out now, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to stream Liam's music. You can find a link to our Spotify playlist in the show notes, where you'll be able to listen to all of Liam's picks. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Thursday and Friday morning, with guest playlists streaming on Spotify at the same time. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify. You can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.